Yo, what's up guys? Chronicles here and talking about how to get more power. Like 5 tips how to get more power. Sure, there's more than 5 ways to get more power, but these are specific tips that I think people might miss out on. If you want to see all the ways to get power, I'll link a video down in the description which I made before, which pretty much talks about all of them on like a lower base or like lower in depth. And in this video, I'm going to have the 5 tips that I have more in depth and actually also showcasing the results of those. So the very first one I actually want to talk about is closet. And I haven't talked about outfits and the closet at all yet. It is pretty nice. Actually, it's better than I thought. So as you can see here, you have certain outfits that you can craft for just getting like a bunch of rewards. Sometimes it is rewards from just gathering stuff. Sometimes it's rewards from like opening chests. Sometimes it's rewards from clearing certain dungeons or anything like that. But there's a whole bunch of good ones out there. Some of them are actually pretty decent and easy to get. The only thing you have to get is these useful barns, which you can craft, which is probably the easiest way to do that. Oops, well, didn't mean to do that. But to craft them, that's probably the easiest way. You can also get some of them from repeat tickets. So if you have been doing repeat tickets for the quest of where you also get these on the highest level, you also get a few of those, so those are pretty useful. If you have been doing this quite some, it is not a bad thing. Personally, I still like this one more because it gives a little bit more towards like everything. But this one is pretty solid and you get these for that as well, which helps you for the outfits. Otherwise, if you don't have them, then the easiest way is to just say like, okay, I'm going to not get them from these. I just get them through professions, and with professions you can just craft a bunch. It is somewhat on the costly side, but it's okay to do. Another way that you can get these is actually if you already kind of done with a specific dungeon, then from a raid you could say like, okay, I buy these on like a weekly base. So that's what I do for Foggy. I also buy these for Foggy already because I don't really need Foggy gear anymore. I am probably planning to go for this one on the Orbia, of course. Like I'm just playing around with the Kina right now because my Orbia is max level again. But these are actually pretty useful to, because they have the decreased summoner damage taken. So I will buy those at some point and craft them, I guess. But I already have like 1 or 2, so that's okay for now. So with the outfit, let me actually show you like how much you gain from getting an outfit. And I will show that in a different clip which I recorded before. We are at 122,944. We're going to craft a closet thingy, and I want to see how much power that actually boosts. Just wasted a whole bunch to get all of these, but let's see how much this actually boosts the power of Orbia after buying an outfit. Now, outfits are relatively expensive, though. They're not that cheap to get. So yeah, we have that thing right now. I can actually finally wear something. That makes me feel like my NA account again, because this was the thing I was always wearing on the NA account. How much power did we actually boost with that? Oh. Okay, not gonna lie. That's actually more than I thought. 500. Also, in addition, which maybe you don't know, if you have multiple outfits, you don't have to equip multiple outfits to have the effect running. The effect is always running. So as long as you have the set, you don't have to equip the set, you have that effect running. There's also a bunch of pay-to-win outfits out there, which I didn't buy myself, but you could think like, okay, I could spend that maybe. And you can actually check like, okay, Orbia 27 attack might be worth like 18 bucks. For me, not really, but it's just something that you could look into. Like, for example, Archer attack for 50. Like, if you just like the outfit, I would rather say like, okay, if I like the outfit, I buy the outfit because I like the outfit rather than aiming for these stat bonuses that way. So, but the stat bonus from these, like, they're niche, they're nice, but it's also not like, ooh, I'm free to play, I'm hella missing out on that shit. Like, I don't think it's that bad. So as you can see, pretty decent power increase. The main thing I recommend you to focus on with outfits is going for outfits that boost up your main character. Because you can have outfits that say like, okay, I boost up all of the supports for attack, but is that really that useful? Like, maybe you use more supports, but you're not using supports all the time. You're using your main character all the time. How many effects like stack together? So I don't have that many, I would say. I think this is 2 together. This is probably just 1, and then I have a bunch of like other things over here. But as I said, I mainly recommend to focus on these that actually give like stats for the main character. And some of them are pretty easy to get. Like, I can't show you where to get them exactly if I already own them. But I know that this one is, for example, pretty easy to get. This one is pretty easy to get. And those are pretty good stat boosts. Like, same for this one. These are pretty easy to get. And if I want to see, like, this one I can get pretty easily. But it's warrior HP. I don't really care about warriors. I don't use too many warriors. This one, Knight Attack, is also not that interesting. Mage Defense is actually pretty nice because your mages are mostly sniped by assassins. Mage Defense is pretty decent if you use quite some of them. Support HP is okay. This one I would have to do more, I think it's event bosses and that kind of stuff from. So there's just a whole bunch of things. These you're not going to get that easy because you need the fancy handle, and that is Master Quest. Like, you have to do the Master Quest first to get those. So that will take you quite a while. And then you also have from every boss, the moment you have enough of these boss materials, you can actually craft these things as well. But that will take like a good amount of time to actually get. And this is material, I think we get on the 6th, we get the hero area. So then crafting this will become easier. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of outfits that you would say like, okay, these are pretty useful. But I wouldn't really go for these where you would have to use materials that you rather use for crafting books or you craft anything else with it. Because this one, even though they look cool, they might seem like, oh, that's a pretty good stat upgrade. These are pretty expensive for like what kind of materials you have to throw in it. So I wouldn't recommend to go for these outfits. So yeah, that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is Trial of Ascensions, and mainly the Spires one with the challenges. I talked about this before, but I never really showcased like, okay, A, how far am I right now? And B, how much does it actually improve? So I did pretty much all of these materials already before the TOA got reset. After TOA got reset, I used all of these materials because you only get them from the normal TOA, so that's you need to reset for. To get all of these stat boosts, pretty much, well, it's mainly the main things that you have to care about are like the first 3 over here and the first 3 over there. So I actually showed in a video of like me adding like quite a bunch, pretty much like the whole TOA rotation, and adding more immemorial power and summon power. And I will show you the results on that, which I was actually surprised about how much power I increased. This. Okay, now the big question. If we hand in all of these Spire points, how much more is this going to be? Yeah, I needed a little bit more. I actually calculated that. Oh, wait, I'm already out of this. Yeah, I can't even do more than this. I'm already gone. Because around 8k-ish. I think less, actually. Let's see. Oof. Whoa. Damn. Damn, son. We got like 7.5k. You were pretty close with 8k. That's about a good 7.5k more. So as you can see in that clip, pretty big power increase. But what do you have to do for that exactly? I explained it in a previous video, but just going to go quickly over it again. You have all of these challenges where you get, like for the first challenge, you get the token of test. Second challenge, you get the token of guard. And the third challenge, you get the other one. So you pretty much have to do these challenges, like do specific TOA stages with like at least 2 warriors, which is more difficult for me. I don't really use warriors. Water and warriors, so same thing. Like a whole bunch of these things are more warrior based, but you will notice at some point that you just highly outpower these things, just switch around your runes back and forth, and it's pretty doable, and as you can see, very good power increase. The third one, which I want to talk about, is skill ups. And not necessarily skill ups for your monsters, but skill ups for your main character. Because if you check my Orbia right now, this is the highest stats that I have on my Orbia, 135. Probably my enhanced skill is a lot higher than the ones of yours. Because I kind of focused on this, and I know this gives a lot of stat boost for power. So where does it come from? Well, it's pretty much just simply this. And you kind of want to buy everything that's cheap, or just equip everything that's cheap. You could say like, okay, this skill is insanely good. I'm going straight away for this, like 180 tickets, let's go. But I only have 755 in total. That is pretty expensive to go for. I also noticed that these are actually less interesting than I thought, but yeah, was adding in a few of those as well. But yeah, you definitely want to go for the passives. You definitely want to go for the utilities. Utilities are more towards PvP, especially the bottom line, so you maybe care less about those. But if I add, for example, this skill, I think I would go up in like 600 in power, or maybe even 700 in power, because this one's pretty expensive. You add quite a lot of power for adding these extra stats. So skill ups is very useful. But then the question, of course, where do you get those skill ups? Well, the main thing is that normally you get them a lot from doing expeditions. You get these research log pieces, and then you trade them or you craft them into these books. But since our expedition really sucks in Europe, we actually only have to do, or at least the weekly expedition really sucks, which used to be a daily expedition. In NA, you could do this 50 times every day, and you could refill it even. Like, what the fuck? Now it's down to 20, and for us it's 7 weekly. It's bullshit. NA is also getting that on the next patch, actually. But yeah, what do you do then? You do those things. You always want to do level 4, of course. They give 8, pretty much 7 or 8, pretty much always. And sometimes you get an extra skill book. And in this case, I did spend a little bit, and therefore I could enter like multiple times. I would never enter the ones that you only have the paid entry for, because those are just straight up pretty expensive, because it's literally just one entry for 300. What I would recommend you to do is do the first refill is, if I'm not mistaken, 200. Second refill is 300, and those are both like 2. So I would definitely do the 2 for 200. Maybe if you have enough crystals, the 2 for 300. And then the fourth one, or the third refill, is 2 for 400. That one is maybe a bit on the pricey side. Yeah, I think it's like total 900. So I would do the first 2 definitely, and the third one only well, let's say I would do the first one for sure. Second one if you're okay on your crystals, and third one if you're whaling. That's kind of what the difference, what I would say. But you get a lot of skill ups, and then of course you're going to need your alchemy 5, if not, no, you need alchemy 6, and with alchemy 6 you do them in here. You could use them with cooking 4, cooking 5, cooking 4, but I highly don't recommend you to do that, because it costs a lot more materials from the other 2, plus you get 6 translate into 1, whereas with alchemy 6, you translate 5 into 1 and no extra materials added. So if you don't have alchemy 6 yet, just wait until you have your alchemy 6 and then get that in there, because it's just so good. It's definitely very, very good. So that is for skill ups for the main character. So the next one that I think a lot of people are still missing out on is gems. And gems on weapon are insanely huge. And the reason that I say that is because the moment you equip a certain weapon, you can see that you just have like all of these stat bonus on all 3 of your units, which actually increase the stats by quite a lot. Okay, I have a light weapon that doesn't have any, but also what is important to remember is that weapons that you don't equip still value. Okay, let's see, my segment is 109. I have the correct weapon still that also has like some of these in there. Let's say I equip a weapon that doesn't have any in them. You can see pretty big power drop, but if we check the segment right now, segment is 107. So that is a pretty big drop already, but maybe something you don't know, if you switch weapons, and in this case my segment is 109.33. If I equip the correct weapon, if I'm not mistaken, if we equip this right now, you can also see like I am not wielding the, what's it called, the light weapon right now, but I equipped the light weapon or a better light weapon, and you can see that I'm already gaining like power just by having the weapon, even if it's not equipped. So if you have a few weapons that are just bad, but you can just simply upgrade because you say like, oh, I don't really use light, or I don't really use ice, or whatever, still get a decent weapon on that, because you still get those bonuses either how. So if we equip this, I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that it also still counts. Yeah, it also still counts for what kind of gems I have on the weapons I don't use. Because segment in this case went up by pretty much 0.3. And that is just for having gems on side weapons as well. So you kind of want to aim for having those side weapons in with some gems as well. These are pretty decent gems because they're all tier 4. No, wait, this one is not tier 4. This one is a tier 3, actually. I think I have tier 4 on most of them. No, just this one is a tier 3 on the defense one. So yeah, definitely want to add those in. It adds you quite a bunch of more power. And as you can see, if I just completely remove it, segment just goes down by quite a bunch of points. Let's actually see if I unequip all of my weapons. Let's see how much my segment ends up with. So segment was 109.6. If I unequip all my weapons, and actually also I would have to unequip this one, how much does my segment have right now? Segment has 103. So 103.6, so that goes up by like what, 5.5-ish? Yeah, pretty much, a little bit more. So definitely something you don't want to miss out on, and that's for all 3 units. That's not just for segment, that is for all 3 units. So that adds a total bonus of what, like 18k close to on all of your units. So that is definitely a solid buff that you don't want to miss out on, and you definitely do want to aim for. And I just have to check where all my weapons are at to equip them again. So yeah, that is that for weapons and gems. Then the final one is Galaxy Stones and books. And I feel like a lot of people are adding in runes, but they're just adding in runes and they're not really looking at the Galaxy Stones. They're not really looking at the books. So books are somewhat harder to get. Galaxy Stones are somewhat more expensive to get. But you definitely want to aim to get those things in. And you might say like, oh, I only want to have crit damage and all of those slots and that kind of stuff. Yeah, maybe, but there's more slots than just, or more things that are just adding extra attack and that kind of stuff. Because, for example, let's say you have a assassin unit. Assassin units are close range. It's not bad if your assassin unit is slightly more tanky and doesn't die in one hit. Same thing for your tank. Your tank maybe has a provoke, so he needs some accuracy. Or your tank maybe adds some extra resistance so he doesn't get armor broken. There's a whole bunch of these things that you could actually say like, okay, I'm not exactly getting the correct books or the correct Galaxy Stones that I want, but you still want to add them in, and they add a good amount of bonus. I actually noticed I don't have a clip of me showcasing, and also don't really have anything that I want to equip right now. But I've seen some upgrades of saying like, okay, I equipped one of the tier 4s and I went up for that specific rune, like 300-400 power on that specific unit. You have 6 runes, so let's say 300 times 6, 1800 extra. You have 2 slots of those per rune, so that is like what? Let's say 4k extra per unit. Easily. That's adding in quite some, and that's not even using the highest tier of those Galaxy Stones. So that adds quite a bunch of power. And then you have 3 units, so you add in, like, if you do that fully, it's 12k extra power to your total power. So that is quite some. But then the question you might ask, like, okay, how do I get those? Because I haven't really seen too much. You get some from quests here and there, you get some from TOA here and there, but how do you get those? Which one should I focus on? So, of course, the higher the better. But then you already see, like, okay, this is a pretty rare material and this is a fucking expensive material. Do you want everything on your tier 4 book? No, probably not. These are actually pretty easy and doable to get. So I would get at least everything on a tier 2. The moment from tier 3, for these, it's already... yeah, this one is still pretty doable because you get those from Path of Adventures. You're going to get a bunch of those. But for this one, it is pretty expensive because you need the Flame Hearts. And Flame Hearts you actually need to get Alchemy 7. And you're not going to get too many of those Flame Hearts. So definitely for attack books, I highly recommend you to go for the Spellbook 2. Spellbook 1 is really weak. I wouldn't really go for that. So definitely Spellbook 2. The Magic Course is just something you get from AFK farming. So as you saw me do on the Keynet, moment you are AFKing, I recommend you to just get, like, if you have like a shitty phone or something, plug in the shitty phone, just let it AFK farm somewhere, get those achievements in for Creature Book and that kind of stuff, and therefore you just farm a whole bunch of those. And with that, you can also, like, get your books in and that kind of way. And if you just go for the tier 2 books, they are not crazy good. Like, of course, like tier 3 and tier 4 are way better, but it's pretty hard to get those tier 3 and tier 4. If you already have Alchemy 7, and the moment we get Naraka, I definitely recommend you to craft this one weekly. You're also going to need it, of course, for the... where is it at? Master Quest. So you need 20 of those. I recommend, if you do those promotion quests, I recommend you to throw in the ones that have shitty stats, so the ones you don't really care about. So in this case, I have a bunch of precisions. They are higher. Like, you can see the difference already. This is a 4-6 and this is a 3-6. So this is definitely worth more to throw in here than the 4-6. Also, you see that you will get like a bunch of flat stats at some point from all of those books. I have like a bunch of those books that are all just flat stats that you don't really need, like these kind of. You just throw them in there. Question I get often, like, okay, what if I already done with the quest and what do I have to do with those books afterwards? I am not entirely sure. For gems, you can actually combine the gems and get like a chance of a higher tier of a gem. It doesn't happen too often, but you at least have a chance to get a higher tier. For books and galaxy stones, it's not the case. You don't have that combining thing. So, but I would still keep them just in case they add it in a later moment. So just throw everything in storage or something. So talking about galaxy stones are a little bit more difficult to get because you need cobalt bar, like you need the full cobalt bar to make. That is somewhat more expensive. So the easiest one to get that has like decent value is this one. But you're going to need a bunch of cobalt for it, and cobalt is a pretty expensive material. So most of the time what I do is I send out the lizard to get cobalt, and then I throw that cobalt in here, so just to get the galaxy stones in. I'm pretty sure you probably have some books in your runes, but you probably don't have the galaxy stones yet. So you can get decent upgrades with that. Sure, it is better if you throw in these or you throw in these, but they're pretty nasty on the value. It's quite some materials you need in there, and then you get a flat stats, and that's pretty annoying, like especially for these, man. This is so freaking many. Like even this thing already, man, that's way too much stuff that you have to get in there. So I definitely recommend in this case, go for the tier 2 in this. And actually this is also the tier 2. So if you already have tier 2 across all of your runes, across all of your monsters compared to not having that, you probably increase like what, 20 to 25k power. So definitely something that can help you out. These were my 5 tips to increase your power. Of course, there's a whole bunch of more ways which you probably know about, like Monster Awakening, Monster Skill Up, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. These are more like commonly known to people that's like, oh, I already know that, like I'm fine on those. But I wanted to give 5 tips that you maybe didn't know, you maybe didn't use that much yet. If you want to see all of the ways to get more power, I'll link the video down in the description that shows all of the ways to get more power. And that was pretty much it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you in the next one.